My name is Dr. Kevin Scalf, and I'm so thankful that you made time in your busy schedule to come out and talk about the Psych Mental Health Nurse Practitioner program here at Frontier Nursing University. So first off, I'd just like to thank you for making time in your busy schedule, and I really do hope that you leave with all of your questions answered, and I really hope that you follow up if you have anything that we do not answer. This is really an informal presentation for you. We're here to just have a conversation about the program. And if there's something that you want to know, you have a question, please feel free to either speak up or just type it in the chat. Some of my colleagues will be here monitoring the chat function as well. So if you have questions, please feel free to speak up and let's talk about it. I'm the department chair for the Psych Mental Health Nurse Practitioner program here at Frontier, and it is just my pleasure to come out and talk with you about our program. Dr. Susan Piper is also leadership within our program. She's the clinical director, and she was unable to be here tonight, but she really wanted me to convey her heartfelt welcome to everyone, and the same as just what I just kind of talked about. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. That's why we're here, is to help you understand everything and feel confident about moving forward. So that was her message to you as well. Before we really get started with the program, I wanted to just take a few moments and just kind of set the tone and explain what we're all about here at Frontier Nursing University. You see here a picture, and the picture has a bunch of people that's kind of in a circle. And this picture was taken on our new campus in Versailles, Kentucky. Um, and we call this activity Circle Up. And it's something that we do a lot of when we're on campus because really we form a circle because we want that to symbolize belonging and meaning. Everyone is part of our community. Once that you're an FNU community member, you're always a community member, we say. But we're all about belonging. We're all about making you feel welcome and really helping you to achieve your hopes, dreams, and ambitions related to your education. So we always circle up and we reflect at the end of each day, and we really think about what all that we've learned in that particular day. We've we talk about our vulnerabilities. Maybe we're a little scared at starting school again. Maybe there's a lot of uncertainties. You wonder, how am I going to fit this into my life? Just different things that people choose to share as they start this journey out. And although it takes a little vulnerability, I think, to really start the conversation, one thing that we always notice is there's more people that feel the same way. You're not alone when you have these unanswered thoughts, you have these worries, you have these what ifs that come into your mind. We're all part of a community. And when we talk about these things, we have community members that come together to support each other. And really, that's what we stand for at Frontier. We support each other and we care about each other. So really, that's this picture just kind of sums up how we view things. But if you look at the bottom, you will see our mission statement. And there's a few things that really stand out when we look at the mission statement. The first thing is we want to provide a high quality education. That's why that you're coming back to school. You want a high quality education that will prepare you as you enter into this next phase of your life. And so we want to deliver that for you. We want you to become competent, entrepreneurial, ethical, and compassionate advanced practice nurses, whether that's a nurse midwife, nurse practitioner. We want to make sure that you receive the training that you're going to need and that you're going to be able to work with all people, especially focusing on rural and underserved communities. That's really our mission at Frontier. It's kind of simple, but that's what we're all about, is providing care to the community. That's where our university began its history, and that's where we continue today. We want to provide care to the community because we recognize there's a need, right? There's a need for this type of care and services, and that's what we want to do. And I always say, as faculty and staff, we want to work with you as you go through this program. We want to mentor you. We want to be your role model, your faculty member, your support system. Um, and if we do that, maybe we can have just a small piece of the success that you're going to later bring to the profession and to your community. So we're all here to support you as students. Distance education is really we're no stranger to that here at Frontier. We've been doing distance education for a long time. And one of the things that I want to talk about is the setup, the curriculum, how it's structured, and how that fits into a distance education model. We want to provide you with distance education, the benefit of that, the flexibility of that, but we also want to engage with you and have a relationship with you that would be just as good as, if not better than, what you would experience in a bricks and mortar institution. That's really our goal. We want to bring intimacy, we want to bring engagement and relationship to this distance education model. And that's why that we have this culture of caring that we really use as a framework for everything that we do at Frontier. Basically, what this culture of caring says is that we respect all people. We recognize that each and every person is a very special individual. You have a lot to contribute to the community, the society, the world, and we want to help you be successful. That's really what we use to guide everything that we do every single day at Frontier. You not only hear us talk about that, but as you interact with faculty, with staff, you're going to see this lived out day in and day out. So we really do care about students. You're not just a number here at Frontier, but we want to get to know you. I think that's really just a part of good teaching and learning is that back and forth communication and relationship. So here at Frontier, you're important to us. The other thing with the distance education model is you get to use your community as your classroom. So what do I mean by that? Once that you are entered in and admitted to Frontier, you will come to a campus session. It's kind of an orientation session that we call Frontier Bound. And during this session, it's about 2.5 days. You learn about the university, you learn about the curriculum, your program, you get to meet faculty and staff, you get to meet academic advisors, clinical advisors, financial aid officers. The IT department helps you get everything set up that you will need virtually. You meet the librarian. They kind of do a session and they talk about how to use the library. We give you everything that you need to leave so that you feel inspired, connected, and ready to begin this program. You go back off and you start your didactic courses. Here at Frontier, the curriculum is front loaded with a didactic. And what I mean by that is you have all of your didactic courses up front. So you get that out of the way. Then you come back to campus for a few days to prepare for entry into the clinical setting. We call that clinical bound. So what's that all about? Well, really in our program, what clinical bound focuses on is helping you to really put your hands on all of the things that you've learned in the didactic courses so far. Sometimes we sometimes it's so easy to become isolated in your didactic work. For example, you may when you go to assessment, the assessment course, you learn about assessment. You go to the pharmacology course, you learn about pharmacology. But at Clinical Bound, you get to really put all of that together. And we have sim labs that are set up to look just like a mental health provider's office. We have professional actors that come in and they portray the role of a patient. And you get to see patients all day long in that simulated environment. And what you find is at the end of the day, you really do feel like that you've been in clinic because each patient brings a certain type of issue, or uh, emotion to the visit, and you have to kind of go from patient to patient with all of those different dynamics, and you get to put everything together in a safe environment. You're not going to kill anybody during that week. The worst thing that can happen is you might learn a little something. And so it's really a fun week for everybody to come together and really just take all of this stuff and go on a safe test drive with it and really see what is it like putting all of this together with a real patient. You get feedback from your faculty. You also get feedback from the patient. How did it feel to be a patient in your office today? And so, really, it's an opportunity for you to assess your strengths and also your opportunities before you go off into your clinical practicum. After that week, you leave, you start your clinical rotations with your preceptors. While that you're doing your preceptorship, we have clinical faculty that work very closely with you and the preceptor um, to help guide you throughout the clinical courses and make sure that you're ready and that you are progressing like you should be. So that's kind of like the 30,000-foot view of how our program is set up. But all of your didactic courses are front loaded and you go through all of that first. Um, I think I talked about those bullet points on the PowerPoint. But really, we want you to use your community as a classroom. Study from the comforts of your own home, and then you get to come back to campus for your clinical bound week that will really prepare you for your clinical. So um, those are the two times that you would come to campus. Frontier bound for an orientation, and then clinical bound as you prepare to enter into the clinical practicum. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the psych mental health nurse practitioner. And really, I think to understand the role of the PMHNP, we first have to kind of understand the evolution of advanced practice nursing, right? The advanced practice nursing roles really began in the mid to early 1900s with the CRNAs and nurse midwives. The the modern nurse practitioner movement that we know today, that really kind of took off in the mid 1960s. But when we look at the role of the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, really we've seen this role grow as well over the last few years because we all know that there is such a great need for psychiatric mental health services, especially in rural and underserved areas. And one thing that it's important to understand about the role is that early psychiatric advanced practice nursing focused primarily on inpatient psychotherapy in those early days. And as deinstitutionalization occurred and the community mental health movement began to grow, there was a need for more outpatient providers to provide services for everyone. And so this is really a good point to where that the psych mental health nurse practitioner role did a pivot. And instead of just focusing on psychotherapy, which is really important, it's something that we can do, um, we instead adopted ourselves to more of a holistic model. That term biopsychosocial that we hear sometimes, that's really how that we practice, and that's really the lens that we treat patients from. We integrate pharmacologic and non-pharmacologic interventions to our patients, and you're prepared to see patients across the lifespan. We always say cradle to grave. We see patients all across the lifespan. So really the role of the psych MP today, it's really evolved into something that helps to meet the needs of the communities, and it's one of the fastest growing NP specialties across the country. It's really important, I think, to understand our history and also know that we're here to meet a need. And as the community's needs evolve and change, we have to also evolve and change what we do. So we always want to be a good help, a good source of support for our communities. Psych NPs practice in all 50 states and also some foreign countries as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about the achievements here at Frontier as well. I said at the beginning that we have been doing this for a long time. Frontier has over 100 years of experience in nurse midwifery, and family care. A lot of people don't know this, but Frontier had the very first family nurse practitioner program in the country. Now, there were some nurse practitioner programs here and there, but we were the first one that focused on the family and used that terminology, family nurse practitioner. We have students and alumni in every single state. Um, at any given time, we have more than 2,700 students that are active in the programs, and we have well over 10,000 graduates. And it's really amazing, I think, to see the footprint that FNU has made across the country. And also, it's so amazing to see the alumni um, population that we have as well. We find that our alumni, they stay engaged with Frontier. Like I said, once that you're part of our community, you're always part of our community. But it's really amazing to see what FNU has achieved over the years. Some of our most notable achievements within the psych program um, is our current board exam pass rate. After you graduate and your degree becomes conferred, you will sit for your national certification. That's what enables you to become a board certified Psych NP. We just got some data from the certifying bodies that gave us some feedback about our first time pass rate in the program, and we're pleased to announce, our first time pass rate was 100%, both for MSN students and our postgraduate students. So we're really proud of that, especially when you look at the national average pass rate. Around 83% of students pass that exam on the first attempt. So 83%, but Frontier has always exceeded that national average in all of the domains of the exam. And like I said, we were really pleased to see that we had 100% first time pass rate. That's something that we're really proud about. Is there someone here from Student Support Services that would like to talk about our options with student engagement? I'm not for sure if we have anybody. If not, I can. I can go over this as well. When we talk about engagement, we talk about student engagement. Remember, I said that here at Frontier, you're more than just a number, right? We want to really make sure that you feel welcome. We help you achieve your potential, and we want you to be engaged not only with faculty and staff, but also with each other, because that is such an important aspect of distance education, building that community amongst yourselves. So with our student support and services department, we have a lot of things that you can become involved in. We have advising and faculty connections that we've talked about a little bit, and clinical support. We have clinical advisors as well as academic advisors. We have accessibility services. We have a very big student community and engagement population where we focus on wellness, mental health. Once that you become a Frontier student, we provide through a third party, we provide free mental health services if you choose, so take advantage of that. So that's for your benefit. We don't know anything about anything that happens within that, but that's just a service that we provide because we know that mental health is important. We have military and veteran support, mentoring opportunities, financial aid and scholarships, and also just a lifelong network. Like I said just a few moments ago, our alumni stay involved in FNU. And I think the reason for that is because you do feel that you are a part of the community during your time here. And so when you leave, you're just merely transitioning into another phase of your life, but you always have a home here at Frontier. Any questions so far? I'm going to kind of slow this down a little bit to see if there's any questions or anything that is on your mind so far with the material that we've covered. Okay, I'm going to move right along. We have student scholarship opportunities here at Frontier as well. In 2025 alone, we awarded nearly $1.7 million to students in scholarships and stipends. We're really fortunate to be able to do that. And so this is something that's available to every student to apply for. The award cycles are available during the spring and fall terms. We do have some criteria that you have to meet in order to receive a scholarship. And for example, you have to have a minimum of 24 credits earned with FNU. There's a GPA requirement there. But we have many different scholarships with many different amounts. And at the current time, we have over 20 scholarships available. We have a website here if you wanted to check that out. Um, it's frontier.edu/frontier-scholarships. And that will let you take a look at all of the different scholarships that we have available. Okay. Does someone want to
Okay.
talk about student support?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Johansson. I'm one of the clinical advisors here at Frontier. Excuse me. So our university has a long-standing tradition of empowering students to secure their own clinical sites, often within their own communities. However, you will have many different resources at your disposal to support and assist you with this search. The first being our community map, which currently has over 20,000 sites all throughout the country that we have relationships with. Since this is proprietary information, you'll have access to this once you start your first term. And then also keep in mind you aren't limited to just these sites and preceptors. We're happy to add others. Additionally, my team is here to help provide assistance and additional resources for your search. You'll be assigned your own dedicated clinical advisor and regional clinical faculty member who specialize in your region, and will be here to support you throughout your journey. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll also put our clinical advising email in the chat here, just in case you have any questions after the session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. So many students really they have such a close relationship with the clinical advisors, the academic advisors, and the advisors are such an important resource for students, I believe. The community map, like you mentioned, is a vast network of um, sites that we have already worked with, we already have a contract with, and like you mentioned, you're not limited to those sites at all. If you see a clinical site that you want to do clinical at, we have a plan that where you can submit that site, and we can work on the contract and the credentialing for you. So. Student services as it relates to clinical outreach and placement is very important. And students find that that help is such an instrumental tool as they start to plan their clinical. Just a few more achievements that I wanted just to kind of bring out. Just to kind of mention, FNU has been recognized as one of the great colleges to work for the years 2021, 2010, 2022, 23, 24, and 25. We're really happy about that. We're also a national leader in DEI and a 7-time winner of the Insight into Diversity Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award. We've been the recipient of the AACN 2023 Award for Inclusive Excellence, Belonging, and Sustainability in Nursing Education. And also, FNU has been named the Academic Honoree for the 2024 Healthy Work Environmental Award presented by Sigma Theta Tau International. So those are just a few of the things that we're really proud of here at Frontier. So let's talk about degree options and kind of get into some curriculum type things. Here at Frontier, we offer the MSN degree. We also have a postgraduate certificate program. If you're already an APRN and you want to come back to get the psych mental health certification, then you would be in the postgraduate certificate program. And then we also have the Doctor of Nursing Practice program as well. We have 4 specialties when it comes to the MSN and the PGC programs. The nurse midwifery program, the family nurse practitioner, the women's health care nurse practitioner, and the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner program. The psych program is the newest one of the four. This program came into existence around 2017. So we're kind of the newest one. But the rollout of the psych program here at Frontier was to meet the needs of the community. That's really the driving force behind every one of these specialties. They've all come out of the need of the communities. So that we can help improve the health and the lives of the community and the family. That's really what drives everything that we do here at Frontier. This is an illustration of kind of what I explained just a few moments ago about the journey of the academic life, so to speak, of a student. And you can kind of see up at starting in the upper left-hand corner, you come to Frontier Bound orientation. That's after you get accepted into Frontier. You come to campus for about 2.5, 3 days. You learn about Frontier. You meet faculty, staff, develop friendships with each other, and really get the tools that you're going to need to come back home and begin your didactic coursework. You complete all of your coursework at home, and then you come back to campus one more time for the clinical bound portion where you really practice putting everything together. After you leave clinical bound, you transition over into your clinical practicum. That's where you're with your preceptor. You're working with your preceptor. You're also working with your clinical faculty, and really you're just becoming immersed in that clinical portion of the program. After that, you take our comprehensive course where it's really just kind of your ability to synthesize everything in the program. It's a comprehensive review course, and then your degree becomes conferred. After you finish your degree, that's when that you will sit for your certification exam, and then you will become licensed as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So that's kind of the lifespan of a student as you enter in the program until you leave the program and become licensed as a mental health provider. Richard, are you here to talk about admissions?
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Richard. I'm here on behalf of the admissions team. Great to be here and great to have everybody join us here this evening. So, on the admissions side, some of the criteria is a student or an applicant must hold an RN license, current, active in the United States, unencumbered, on the highest level of completed nursing degree, have a GPA 3.0 cumulative or above. Yeah, and for the MSN program, the student must hold a bachelor's degree in a BSN and have that 1 year of RN experience. There is another pathway, so to speak, in regard to the program where if a student holds an associate's degree in nursing in conjunction with a bachelor's degree in a different discipline, there is a portfolio pathway, and that's where it's listed under the required items for the portfolio instructions for non-BSN holding students. And I will be posting that information in the chat. And then for the postgraduate certificate students, they must hold a master's degree or higher in nursing and an advanced practice registered nurse specialty. GPA requirement stands true, 3.0 on the highest level of completed nursing degree. And then in regard to moving forward with an application, there's the application itself, and then students submit for review. There's an essay, a resume, all official transcripts for all completed nursing degrees, and I'll be posting that information in the chat for everybody as well.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Any questions about that? Okay, I will continue on. So we talked about the postgraduate certificate program just a few moments ago. So I wanted to just kind of take a few moments and talk about this particular slide. We have probably our program has the biggest postgraduate certificate population across the university. We see all kinds of advanced practice nurses come back to get the psych certification. And it's really it's really understandable. It's not a surprise because we all know, we live, and we feel the need for mental health services, no matter where that we practice at. And so we find family nurse practitioners, we find nurse midwives, we find all kinds of nurse practitioners and advanced practice nurses coming back to get their psych certification so that they can be better prepared to deliver care to the populations they serve. On the right-hand side, you can kind of see all of the specialties that you can be a part of to meet criteria for entry into the PGC program. So really the biggest thing here is you have to be an already practicing licensed APRN to be part of the postgraduate program. There is one disclaimer that I want to kind of bring out. It's on the bottom left-hand side, and it says, due to state regulations, FNU suspended applications to all programs except the DNP for residents of New York. And so I wanted to talk about that for just a moment. The New York State Board of Nursing really is they're very selective in who that they will allow to enter into the state. You can live in New York and take didactic courses, but if you transition and proceed on into the clinical portion, you have to do your clinicals out of state because the New York Board of Nursing is not has not opened up the application pool just yet to allow new programs to enter into the state and do clinical. So we always want to be transparent with that. But there is one caveat. We recently received notification from the New York Board of Nursing that they're getting ready to open up that application cycle again, and we're set to submit our application to have students clinically placed in New York later this month, and then we'll hear back from the Board of Nursing. But as of right now, you can't do your clinicals in New York. You can be in the didactic portion and live in New York, but you can't do clinical. And so we found some students, they go to New Jersey if they live kind of on the border of the states there. Some students have elected to go across the state line to do clinical, but I just wanted to make sure that I was clear about that. So let's talk about degree timeframes. Here at Frontier, basically our academic term is in 11 weeks. Okay, so we have 4 terms per year. We have the winter term, the spring term, summer, and fall. And each one of those terms lasts 11 weeks. And then there's a 2-week break, and then the next term starts. So if you're looking at the MSN program, the PGC program, I've also got the DNP program listed here, and you can kind of see the time frame. The MSN degree is going to take you anywhere from 2 to 3 years, depending on how many classes that you take. The postgraduate certificate program, 16 to 24 months, depending on how fast that you want to progress. And the DNP is around 18 months. We do have rolling admissions, and applicants can learn the status of their application as soon as 4 to 5 weeks after they complete all of their application materials and send that in to FNU's admission services. So we try to have a quick turnaround so that you can know the status of your application and really start to make plans. We want to make sure that we try our best to have a speedy turnaround for you, because we know, again, you're busy in your life, and when you are entering into a graduate program of study, you need to make plans, right? There's things that you need to start looking at and planning for. So we do try our best to have a quick turnaround for you after you submit all of your application requirements. And speaking of that, we do have some upcoming deadlines for admission. For summer term admission, the deadline is April 1st. Coursework will begin July 6th. For the fall term, application deadline is June 24th, and coursework will begin October the 5th. So those are the deadlines for the upcoming summer and fall terms. Tuition, that's also something that's important to talk about. Currently, tuition is $755 per credit hour. Did someone have a question? Okay. So let's talk about the clinical experience for just a few moments. We want you to do clinical in your own communities. You go off with your preceptor, and your clinical experience is supervised by regional clinical faculty. Now, these faculty members will follow you throughout the entire clinical experience, and you're going to become very acquainted with these people. You meet with your clinical faculty at least every 2 weeks to talk about your experiences. There are some assignments in the clinical classes that you turn in, and your clinical faculty will grade those and give you feedback. Your clinical faculty also maintain good communication with your preceptors. Before you ever set foot in a clinical facility, your clinical faculty will touch base with your preceptor to explain our program, to make sure that the preceptor understands the course objectives, to make sure that the preceptor has contact information in case they need to get a hold of us. And we just periodically check in. We call that the preclinical site visit. And we actually send faculty out to your clinics so that we can meet your preceptors in person. So we start the relationship by doing that. Halfway through your clinical practicum hours, your clinical faculty will come out to your clinic again and do a mid-clinical site visit. This is where your faculty will pretty much stay the day with you and be able to kind of learn about the cases that you're seeing in clinic, talk about those cases, have an opportunity to talk with a preceptor and you, and just really talk about your future. So we get to spend the entire day with you in clinic, and it's really a fun experience, very interactive. So the clinical faculty, they really maintain close communication with you during the entire clinical experience. With the clinical hours, I think that's important for us to talk about as well. For MSN and postgraduate students together, the required clinical hour mark is 750. So everyone completes 750 clinical hours. Now, I don't have this listed here, but there is, I think, something worth mentioning. There's two clinical requirements that you have to meet. There's the hours requirement where you're in clinic 750 hours. Then there's also a visit requirement. You're going to be licensed as an across the lifespan provider. So there are so many child adolescent visits that you have to have, so many adults, so many older adult, so many therapy visits, so many medication management crisis, substance abuse, and you just go on and on and on. We want to make sure that you get the 750 clinical hours, but we also want to make sure that you get a good variety of patient encounters so that you can actually be well prepared for entry into practice and be certified across the lifespan. So when you're looking at clinical requirements, there's the hours requirement, and then there's the visit type requirement where we want you to see so many of different patient encounters to just really help you get a broad experience dealing with across the lifespan. Any questions about that?
I do have a quick question. In terms
Okay.
of clinical hours, is there a minimum number of clinical hours per week
Good
during that?
question. Very good question. Yes. So we have 3 clinical courses. And in the first clinical course, the minimum per week is 20 hours, 20 hours a week. The second clinical course, that's probably the most the most time consuming part of it. There's 28 minimum hours in the second clinical course. And the reason for that is the second clinical course consists of 300 clinical hours. So the first clinical course, there's 250 clinical hours, so it's 20 hours a week. The second clinical course is worth 300 hours, so the minimum is 28 hours a week. And then the third clinical course is 250. as far as hours go. And then the minimum requirement is 24 hours per week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We talk to students at Frontier
Hi.
about that as well, because it's important to kind of plan that out, right? Especially during that second clinical course. I'm sorry,
And
I
when does it
talked,
start?
interrupted somebody.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking when do the actual clinical curriculum start for, meaning the, I'm sorry, the hours.
When do the hours start? So your hours will start on your first clinical day with your preceptor.
No, is it going to be after how many months? Is it which mark, halfway through or?
Well, it depends if you're in the MSN program or you're in the postgraduate certificate program. The postgraduate certificate students, they do 3 terms of didactic, and then there's 3 terms of clinical. One clinical course in each term. So for
Okay.
the PGC student, you do 3 hours of didactic or 3 terms of didactic, and then you go off to clinical for 3 terms. For the MSN student, you're going to do about 6 terms of didactic, and then you're going to do 3 terms of clinical.
Okay. Okay.
Does that
Thank
help?
you.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And one more question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Are there certain states where you guys have a harder time finding clinical or helping to assist with clinical placement?
You know, I don't think so. Like we have that whole clinical outreach and placement department where you meet with your clinical advisors, and they really do help you in your clinical search. Your clinical faculty also, they are available to kind of help you with your clinical search. We try to regionalize the clinical faculty the best that we can. And so we try to put clinical faculty close to where you live so that they are kind of familiar with the landscape, so to speak, and they have some intimate knowledge of places that you can go. We have the community map, which shows where we've been before and who we are actively working with as far as sites go. I've never really encountered a student that could not find a clinical site. And so I really don't think that there's like one state that's worse than the other. What I found is the biggest thing that is going to make this the least stressful is starting the search early. That's really what I have found. Some facilities, they have a wait list for students that's like a year long. And so starting that clinical search when you first get admitted to Frontier makes all the difference in the world, because it gives you an opportunity to really do a good search. And what I tell students to do is survey your community, look at the places that you think would be worth spending some time with. Approach those facilities, talk to whoever's in charge of the clinical precepting program, um, and see what they say. And then make a spreadsheet and write all of that stuff down. On this day, I went to this clinic and I spoke to this person, and this is what they told me. And the reason I tell students to do that is because when they um, meet with their clinical advisors, when they meet with their clinical faculty, that lets those people know exactly where you've already been and what you've been told. And that really kind of helps us broaden the search out just a little bit. Um, so I think that's a helpful tool as well. Another thing that we have done to kind of help with the clinical placement situation is we have developed some partnerships across the country with clinical sites. This started as about 4 years ago when we were awarded a HRSA grant to develop partnerships with different clinical sites across the country. Well, what we do in a partnership is we partner with a site, and the site will say, we will take X number of your students each term. In exchange, we help that particular site with things that they need as well, whether that be professional development, whether that be free continuing education, whatever that need may be for them to help meet the needs of their population. We also assist with that. So right now we have 7 sites that are clinical partners across the country. I think it's 7. We have 4 in Kentucky. We have 1 in Florida. We have 1 in Maryland. We have 1 in Colorado and 1 in Arizona so far. And we continue to try to engage and develop partnerships with these sites as well. And that's helped a lot too with clinical placement. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep, you bet. The key is start early. I think that is the key. Any other questions about clinical?
I had a question. Is it possible for if you start part-time for you to switch into a full-time program when you can handle more, or do you have to stay the course?
Great question. So yes and no, I will say. And what I mean by that is early on, you probably have the greatest flexibility to do that. After you get into the management courses, um, it becomes less flexible because of prereq requirements. Um, what I mean by that is our courses are designed to be scaffolded, from start to finish, and each course builds upon the previous course. And so, if you take one course, let's say the first term, and then the next term, if you want to take 3 courses, that's going to be hard to do once you get into the management cycle because of the prereq requirements. Students typically take, let's say, um, psychiatric assessment and psychopharmacology in a term together. If you only take one of those classes this term, then you would have to take the psychopharm class the next term because the future classes would require both the assessment and the pharmacology course. So as you progress through, it's going to be less flexible, but early on there is that flexibility. Does that help?
Yes. So I guess I'm just trying to like put I guess a face to a name in but too many words. If I was to keep, I guess I get up to term 4 part-time. You're saying that by term 5 it would kind of be too late to switch over.
Once that you get into the MH courses, yes, the management courses. The PC courses have greater flexibility. If you want to start off part-time and go to full-time, there's more flexibility with those PC courses that you see on the plan of study. Once you get into the MH courses, you're kind of locked in because of the prereq requirement, because each course builds upon the previous course.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. I'm just trying to juggle life right now, and I just was trying to figure out if I can like eventually, because the part-time program it leads a 3-year program term, correct?
Sure. I tell
Okay.
you, if you want to email me, I'd be happy to set up a meeting with you and talk about it.
Okay. Can I have your email in the
Yes,
chat?
yeah, let me see if I can put it in the chat here. Can
Kevin, I can
someone?
put it in the chat for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
You're welcome. I'm happy to talk with you about it. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about clinical? Okay. These are just some people that you're going to meet early on. These are people that are going to help you get started in this educational journey. They are a great source of support. And like I said at the beginning of this presentation, we are all here to help you. Dr. Piper is at the bottom of the right-hand screen there. She's the clinical director. Each didactic course and clinical course also have clinical course coordinators, and course faculty. We have at least 2 or 3, if not a little bit more, faculty in each course because we want to make sure that there's enough faculty to engage and stay connected and that sort of thing. So the amount of faculty in each course depends on how many students are in the course. The regional clinical faculty, those are the faculty members that will oversee your clinical experience. The academic advisor, the clinical advisors, they are here to help you. Also, great source of support. Financial aid officers, credentialing coordinators, they take care of all of the contracts with the sites and that sort of thing. So we all work together and we all have a different part to play in really getting you started and also helping you as you progress through the program. You're never alone in this program. I know sometimes in the virtual world, it's easy to kind of feel like you're the only one out there in cyberspace somewhere. We don't want that for you. That's one of the reasons why we bring you back to campus a couple times as well, because we want you to develop relationships with each other, because that's your support systems. And what we have found is students make these relationships, they build friendships that last way after graduation. And so that part of engagement is just as important as anything else is. But we want you to be able to make relationships with everyone, your peers, your faculty, your staff. We're all here to support you. But these are just some people that you will see early on that will help you get everything started. Just some pictures of our campus. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did have a question about the
Sure.
on campus time. I know that they offer, or at least I was told, a few of the before you start the the orientation, I guess, to the campus for, is it 3 days or 5 day orientation?
3 day.
Those they offer 3 days, 3 different sessions to that, I believe.
So Frontier, you're talking about the Frontier bound sessions.
Yes.
We have I think 4 Frontier bound sessions.
And do we get to choose, or are we automatically assigned, or?
I think it depends. Richard or Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I could chime in. So you're correct. Per term at this point, there's 4 different orientation sessions. And if students offered admission, they accept the offer, then they would go forward and choose the orientation that fits their schedule best. Just to kind of preface at that though, and I'll post this in the chat too, the orientation dates per term is that the closer to the deadline at times, it can reach capacity certain to orientation dates. So it's just something to be mindful of. But overall, there is for this program, the psychiatric mental health program, per term for an admitted student to choose from if they move forward with accepting an offer, if that's granted to them.
Okay, I was just wondering because you said that sometimes I know some of us have to make schedules out early, and if there's like a conflict, and if there's a spot open on like not the first choice but the second choice, is there a possibility like to switch?
From my understanding, no. Once a student, if they choose an orientation date, they're not able to alter it to a different orientation date. So it would be pretty imperative to choose the one that fits the schedule best. But I'll post that information in the chat. And if you do have further questions or anybody attending, you could reach us here in admissions at 859-279-0890, and I could expand on it, or one of my colleagues would be happy to help.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions? So here you see some pictures of our campus. We moved into this campus around 2020, and it's really beautiful. On the top left-hand side is the dining hall. That's the entry level there to the dining hall. But downstairs, there's a gift shop, and there's also a 24-hour fitness center that you can take advantage of while you're on campus. The top row middle photo is the president's house. That's really not where the president lives, but we have a lot of activities and a lot of things that we do in that house as well. The Welcome Center is the right hand top line. That's the building that you will come to when you first check into campus, is the Welcome Center. On the bottom row, left-hand side, you see one of the student lodges. In the picture there, we have three student lodges, so that's just one of them. And you can kind of see there's a bridge that goes over into where the other parts of the campus are located. The bottom middle picture is just another photo of the dining hall. And then the right-hand picture on the bottom, that's just the signage that you can see from the main road as you pull into campus. It really is a beautiful campus. We have things for you to do in the evening times as well. We want to make sure that you spend time with each other, like I said before, building those relationships. But we also have things like we have walking trails that you can take advantage of. We have a reflection center if you just need some time to decompress and just kind of be by yourself. You're more than happy. I mean, you're more than welcome to come into that center and just kind of decompress and have some personal time. Lots of things to do on campus. We want you to have a well-rounded stay. We want you to learn and achieve the objectives, but we also want you to enjoy your downtime as well. So this is just a few pictures of our new campus. And this campus is about 10, 15 minutes from the airport in Lexington, Kentucky. So it's not a huge commute at all to get from the airport to campus. With that, I think I just kind of like to do a check-in. I'm going to stop sharing here for a few moments. I just want to do a check-in and see if there's any lingering questions, anything that you want to talk about. Like I said earlier, this is an informal session, and I really want you to leave with your questions answered. So if there's questions in your mind, please don't hesitate to speak up.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Now, as far as other, well, I guess not in comparison to district, just distance learning courses, but it just in general, your psych courses. And it's probably going to be a hard question to answer, but just compared to other brick and mortar ones, how does that program kind of compare? You probably heard the question before.
Yeah. So we start off, let's just kind of looking at the curriculum, 30,000-foot view. Each course builds upon the previous course. And so the courses are not in isolation, but they're intentionally kind of scaffolded across, so to speak. Each course deals with different content, of course. And we have a variety of ways that we teach the content. Some courses have exams, some courses do not. Some courses have simulation opportunities with standardized patients, especially, let's say, for instance, the psychiatric assessment course. You start off learning the diagnostic criteria with the DSM for each of the diagnoses, but you also learn how to interview. You learn how, really, it's that therapeutic use of self, right? How do we engage with patients? How do we make patients feel accepted and comfortable? How do we deal with difficult conversations? How do we use ourself to communicate and get information from somebody? There's an art and a science to that. So you learn that as well in the assessment course. Toward the end, let's say if each course is 11 weeks, let's say week 6, week 7, you will start having an opportunity to come into a virtual clinic and interview a standardized patient who's portraying the role of a patient. Now, at that point in time, you're not going to be expected to create a treatment plan, prescribe medication, or anything like that. You're just applying what you've learned in the assessment phase. So you're doing an assessment, you're coming up with differential diagnoses, you're figuring out how to rule something in, how to rule something out. So you're really just learning to apply that information. We have several courses where that's the same case. Around week 6, you start interacting in a virtual clinic with standardized patients. So you have an opportunity to apply what you've learned in that particular course. So we have that. Um, every course has weekly live lectures from faculty. There's also open office hours with faculty where you can just kind of stop by if something's on your mind and you can have a conversation with your faculty. There's different activities and different ways to measure the objectives, how well that you master those objectives. That's kind of different with each course, just depending on the content. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With comparison to your graduates, and I don't know if you guys have done just a percentage share study on it, from a distance learning standpoint to a brick and mortar standpoint, do you find that it's been more of a challenge for students to find employment after from distance learning to brick and mortar, or no?
No, none of our graduates have problems gaining employment. That's one thing that we monitor very closely. In fact, we have to monitor that for our accreditation. And none of our graduates have problems gaining employment after they graduate.
Okay. I knew that FNU was one of the first distance learning educations.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
Yeah, we Frontier has been doing distance education for so long. And I think Frontier, I've been told this anyway, Frontier has a good reputation with the boards of nursing, and we want to give students quality education. And like I said, we have 100% first time pass rate on the certification exam, and our students just do not have problems with employment.
oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions? Lucas, did you have a question? Okay. Okay. So Lucas had a question about working as an RN with a preceptor schedule. I tell students at Frontier Bound to really start making plans for those clinical courses now, because there is the minimum clinical requirement, and really it takes out a big chunk of your week out of the 7 days, right? In the first clinical course, it's 20 hours a week, then it's 28 hours a week in the second, and it's 24 hours in the third. It's really important, I think, to start making plans for that. Some students want to get those hours done pretty quickly, so they will arrange like vacations and take PTO, arrange their schedules differently with their employers, that kind of thing. I think everybody's situation's a little different, but I think it's really important early on to start making plans for that clinical portion. It goes by pretty fast, but it does take up a lot of your life.
So for the 2-year version, it's you said so it's 20 plus hours for a whole year, basically, correct?
No, for each course. So we have 3 clinical courses, and so each clinical course you will take during a specific term. Okay, so let's say in spring term, I'm going to take the first clinical course. So that clinical course requires 200 hours. I'm required to be in clinic at least 20 hours a week for the spring term. So that's 11 weeks. During the second clinical course, there's 300 hours that I have to get done. So I have to be in clinic at least 28 hours a week for that. So I would take that during the summer term. And during the fall term, I would take the last clinical course. It's worth 250 hours, and I would have to be in clinic 24 hours a week for that fall term. Does that help?
Yeah, and that's with 4 terms a year, right? Is that what you said earlier, or no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have 4 terms per year. Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to link what you're saying with the PDF. So it says the clinical bound term is term 6,
Mm-hmm.
has transitioned to clinical practicum. So are these practicums the clinic, or is that a didactic style course, or am I wrong?
No, you're getting there. The practicums are the clinical courses. So the clinical bound term, MH 750. Do you see where that's at on the PDF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the clinical bound term. That's when you will come to campus and you will stay those 4 days and practice putting everything together and that sort of thing. After you leave clinical bound during that same term, you will start your first clinical course, which is MH 751. So you take 750 and 751 during the same term. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're going to do that in the spring term. So you take 750, 751 in spring. Then in summer, you would take MH 752. And then in the fall, you would take MH 753, plus the comprehensive review course, which is only 1 hour, 1 credit hour.
And each term is 11 weeks. So
Correct.
you're dedicating typically 2 to 3 days a week to these practicums.
Yeah. One thing that is different, though, however, that I do need to point out, in the didactic courses, there's 11 weeks of instruction, and then there's a 2-week break, and then you start a new term. Once you get into clinical, if you want to, you can continue your clinical time during that 2-week break. So essentially, in the clinical courses, a term is 13 weeks.
So it allows us to spread our hours.
It does.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And if you have questions, Lucas, feel free to email me, and we can set up a meeting and talk about it.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay. I had one last question. When we start the actual the practicums, when we go into the actual clinical hours, do you have to complete the hours every week, or can you try to get all your hours for that particular practicum in 1 week, depending on your schedule?
So it's a minimum per week requirement.
Okay.
So it's a 20-hour a week, 28-hour a week, 24-hour per week. Now that's on average. Let's say, because there's sometimes things happen beyond your control. Your preceptor may get sick and they're out for a week. Maybe you're sick. Something happens. Generally speaking, that's an every week requirement, the 20, 24, and 28 hours. There can be some here and there variability with that, but overall, generally, it's pretty consistent per week.
Okay.
Doris?
Yes. Are you completing these clinical hours in a location of your choice?
You are. So you will look at your clinical facilities, do a good community assessment of where that you would like to do clinical. You would submit that particular site to your clinical faculty for them to approve. We just want to make sure that that's an appropriate site for you. And then if we have a contract, that's good. If we don't have a contract, we'll start working on a contract to get that site up and running. So you really kind of start that initial selection process, and you kind of map out where you want to go. We're happy to help you with that process. That's why that we're here. That's why the clinical outreach and support department is here. Why your clinical faculty are here. We're here to help you. You can use that community map that we talked about to identify clinical sites in your area as well. But basically, you're the one that identifies the clinical site that you want to go to.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
We get access to that map upon admission, correct?
Yes, you
To try
do.
to plan? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That was
Yep.
my question too.
Yep. Great
I
question.
think the other question was, you said that you have to make specific requirements for interviewing older adults, pediatrics. Now, what if that's all not offered at one clinical site? Do we get to choose multiple?
You do. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, you do. And oftentimes what I see students do, they have like one main site where they get the majority of their hours. But let's say they have a few patient encounters that they still have to get. They have like little separate collateral sites to do those specific patient encounter visits. But you can have multiple clinical sites. You can have multiple preceptors for that matter. So it just all depends. Everybody's situation's a little different. Some people can get everything at one place. Some people can't.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you bet.
Do you happen to have a link that goes over like the hour requirements of like the populations, or is that not really online?
So that once you get admitted, you can find that in the FNU catalog, and you look at the clinical experiences, and that tells you um, how many visit type encounters that you have to have per, um, to make sure that you meet the certification requirements. So, like for instance, there has to be at least 300 medication management visits. You have to have so many visits where you interview an adult, a child, an older adult. You have to have 20 visits with psychotherapy. Um, there has to be so many visits with substance abuse and crisis. And so all of that is laid out in the catalog that shows you exactly how many of each one of those you have to have. These are great questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question.
Yes.
I'm reading what the classes are consistent of. The portion of the simulation activities, how would that be able to be completed on as an online
Great
course?
question. Yes. So we have a simulation platform. It's called SimiQ. And basically, it is a virtual telehealth clinic, pretty much. And it's a platform that is kind of like what we're doing right now. But it is set up so that when you come into the virtual room, so to speak, you can look at the door card and you can look to see, what the patient's name is. Um, if it's a follow-up visit, you know what their diagnosis is and their med list, their vital signs, height and weight, all of that kind of stuff, before you go in and start seeing the patient. So it's basically a software that's specifically made to hold simulation activities in a virtual environment. It's really cool.
And then I have another. I see. I from my understanding of master's courses, some of them are paper heavy. Would you say these courses are exam heavy?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry, I had trouble
So,
hearing.
my understanding of master's courses are most of them are very paper heavy, where it's like, you write a lot of papers. Would you say that the courses with Frontiers are
No,
exam heavy?
I would say each course is different, and so each activity is a little bit different. The assignments are a little bit different. We do want at the master's level, we do want to make sure that you can synthesize the information. We want to make sure that you can put everything together and you have a good understanding of all of the concepts. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there is a paper. We can do things like care maps, visit notes. There's things like that we do more than the papers go. There's a probably maybe 2 or 3 papers that you would write across the curriculum, but I don't think we're really paper heavy. We're more of a hands-on, helping you synthesize what you need for practice.
Got it. And then I'm not sure if you know this, are there any specific brands of maybe laptops that are, I guess, compatible with the stuff that we're going to be seeing in the program, so we can, like, I guess, make that transition if we need to?
Yeah, so I think any laptop, because basically you access all of that through the FNU portal page. Um, and so you get into the FNU portal page, and that's where that you really start to access all of that other stuff. We have that kind of embedded within our learning management system. We use Canvas right now for that. But that's really pretty easy to access. Any laptop I think would be okay, but once that you get access to the catalog, it does outline the specific technical requirements that you would need throughout the entire program.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Doris?
Yes, does the course start off with sort of a general structure where all the tracks start the courses and then you go into the mental health and psych track, or does it go straight into its own, psych track?
It depends if you're an MSN student or a postgraduate student. MSN students start together and they take the first few courses together, and then they split off into their specific tracks. For the postgraduate student, the already practicing APRN, you start the management courses right off.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I have a question about kind of like the role of psych NPs, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a friend that she is one, and she said that in the program they kind of prepare you to deal with chronic disease as well, like for medical conditions on top of like the mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any like like details on that in terms of like what type of like things you might be managing with your patients? I've been not super familiar with these type of things, so.
Sure, absolutely. So as a psych NP, you have to have general knowledge. That's why that you have to take the 3 Ps: the advanced health assessment, pharmacology, and pathophysiology, right? That's really the basis of all APRN programs. That's foundational knowledge for every single track that you go into. Once that you're a psych NP, you're going to have all these patients coming to you. They may have one or more psychiatric conditions, but what we see oftentimes is they also have many comorbid conditions as well. Um, and so we don't necessarily maybe treat those chronic medical comorbid conditions, but we have to be aware of them, and we have to make sure that we help the patient get referred for treatment as the patient needs it. So, for example, if a patient comes in and they have some type of an infection, I'm not going to prescribe antibiotics, but I may help that patient get a referral to where they need to go so that they can get treatment for that infection. I'm not going to treat pneumonia. I'm not going to treat diabetes, but I'm going to be well aware of what's going on with that, because that has many implications for my practice, right? Um, when you look at the psychiatric part, you have to look at the physical part as well. For example, let's say a patient comes in and they appear manic. Let's say they have pressured speech, flight of ideas. They have this expansive personality. They're risk taking. They're just not themselves. The first thing that pops into our mind is this person in a manic episode, right? Well, it may be, but it may not be. So I have to do my due diligence to rule things in and rule things out. One of the first things that I'm going to look at is I'm going to check thyroid function, because hyperthyroidism mimics mania. But the treatment is two different treatments altogether. And so I may, do some thyroid studies with this person to make sure that it's not a thyroid condition. Somebody comes in depressed. I'm going to do thyroid studies because hypothyroidism can look just like major depressive disorder. But again, the treatment modalities are two totally different things. So I have to be aware of that. If I have someone that's in renal failure, and let's say they go to dialysis 3 times a week, I have to know that because that has great implications on what I prescribe to that person, knowing the interactions of medications and that sort of thing. So you have to be knowledgeable in those type things to be able to safely practice in the psychiatric setting too. Does that help you?
Yes, and I know you guys, frontier nursing. Is there like a difference in kind of what you're doing in rural contexts with the expanded scope services, et cetera, or not really?
Are you meaning like primary care services? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Um, we do health promotion, disease prevention, and we can assess for things to pick up on abnormalities, but we're not going to be actually treating it. If we find something that needs to be followed up on, or we find an abnormality, it's our job to make sure that we help that patient get established with a provider that can meet their needs. Um, Unless you're dual certified, treating diabetes is not within the scope of a psychiatric NP unless you have additional training to do that, for example.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Well, it's been a pleasure spending the last few minutes with you, and I really do appreciate the questions. That makes things so much more interactive, and I think we all learn when we have good questions. So I do appreciate the questions and the conversations. That's really the best part of any type of meeting or class. So thank you for that. If you have questions after you leave here, please email us. We are here to help you. That's why we're here. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you do have questions. And I hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their evening. Thank you again for coming out.